Good morning, students. Today I am going to explain you another topic from phylum Protozoa, that is locomotion in Protozoa. Locomotion is an important characteristic of animals. Locomotion is seen only in case of animals, but absent in plants. It can be defined as the movement or progression through a medium by an animal in a desired direction with change of place or position. The objective behind locomotion in protozoa is concerned with feeding, protection, suitable environment in response to stimuli. Now let's go through some important locomotory organelles present in protozoans. Three major types of organelles occur among protozoans. They are pseudopodia, flagella, and cilia. Coming to the first one, pseudopodia. The term pseudo refers to false and podium refers to foot. Pseudopodia are the characteristics of class Rhizopoda or Sarcodina. Although they occur in certain flagellata and sporozoa, they are the temporary flowing extensions of cytoplasm from the body surface. They are formed from ectoplasm but also have a core of endoplasm. They are used both in locomotion and feeding. There are four major kinds of pseudopodia that can be distinguished among class Rhizopoda. They are number 1, Lobopodia. These are broad, finger-shaped, round-tipped pseudopodia, normally containing both ecto and endoplasm. The clear cytoplasmic area is called the hyaline cap. Lobopodia are used for locomotion and engulfing food. Example: amoeba, entamoeba, arcella, and diphalugia. So these are the protozoans having lobopodia. Coming to the second one, Phyllopodia. These are very slender, thread-like, often branched ectoplasmic pseudopodia with pointed tips. They lack hyaline cap. The branches never anastomose to form network and provide a constant two-way streaming that delivers food in a convey or belt fashion. Example: Chlamydophorus and Euglypha. The third type of pseudopodia, Reticulopodia, also called Rhizopodia or Mixopodia. These are similar to Phyllopodia, but these are having branches extensively to form networks, and they serve as food traps. Hence, these are called reticulopodia. Reticulo means network. Examples: Elphidium, Microgromia. Coming to the last one, Axopodia. These are thin, long, slender, stiff, spine-like extensions of cytoplasm. An axopodium is composed of a core of axial filament with an outer cytoplasmic sheath. They radiate from circular body in all directions, and they are used more for food capture than for locomotion. Example: Actinosporium and Actinophrys. Coming to the second type of locomotory organ or organelle in protozoans, flagella. Flagella are prominent, permanent or semi-permanent locomotory organelles, characteristics of class Flagellata or Mastigophora. Most flagellates bear flagella throughout life, but some may temporarily reabsorb their flagella. The flagella are used as locomotory, food capturing, and tactile structures. The structural and functional similarities between eukaryotic cilia and flagella are so striking, sometimes they are grouped together under the descriptive heading Undulopodia. The kinetosomes of protozoa have older traditional names like blepharoplast, basal body, basal granule. They are still in common usage. Mastigonemes. Unlike cilia, flagella of some protozoans bear fine lateral hair-like projections called mastigonemes. The mastigonemes are believed to increase the effective surface area of the flagellum to generate more power for flagellar movement through the water. Based on the arrangement of mastigonemes, the flagella are recognized into following types. First one, stichonematic. Here, flagellum bears a single row of lateral mastigonemes, example, Euglena and Astacia. Second type, pantonematic. Here, flagellum bears two or more rows of lateral mastigonemes, example, Monas and Socialis. Third one, acronematic. Here, flagellum bears a single terminal mastigoneme, example, Sarcomonas and Polystoma uvula. Then, fourth one, pentachronematic. Here, flagellum bears a terminal mastigoneme as well as one or more rows of lateral mastigonemes. Example, Paranema. Fifth one, simple or anematic flagellum. Here, flagellum is without mastigonemes, that is absent. Example, Noctiluca, Trypanosoma, Cryptomonadina and Dinoflagellata. Now coming to the third type of locomotory organelle in protozoans, that is cilia. Cilia are the chief locomotory organelles of class Ciliata or Ciliophora. They are motile, hair-like processes of the ectoplasm. They are used as locomotory, food capturing, and tactile structures. Compared to flagella, the cilia are considerably shorter in length and are more numerous. The cilia may cover the entire body, example, holotrichans like Paramecium and Opalina, or it may be limited to certain regions of the body only, example, Peritrix like Verticella. Now coming to a brief note on ultrastructure of cilia. The ultrastructure of cilia is remarkably uniform in all eukaryotic organisms. The cilia are cylindrical in shape and are produced from basal body, also called kinetosome or blepharoplast. Each cilium is composed of an axial filament or axoneme enclosed in an elastic sheath continuous with plasmalemma. The axoneme consists of 9 doublet outer microtubules and 2 central microtubules. That is 9 plus 2 fibrillar system. Probably you have studied this structure of cilia, or more particularly you must have studied the structure of kinetochore in PU level. They are embedded in a fluid matrix. One filament of each doublet bears 2 rows of short arms oriented toward the adjacent doublet. The central filaments are enclosed in a delicate sheath, and in between the outer and central fiber rings are present in 9 radial lamellae. A few cilia may fuse together in certain ciliates to form complex organelles such as membranelles, undulating membranes, and cirri. Now, coming to modes of locomotion in protozoans, following four principal types of locomotion occurs in protozoans. They are amoeboid movement, flagellar movement, ciliary movement, and metabolic or euglenoid movement. Let us go through the first type, that is amoeboid movement. Amoeboid movement is performed by pseudopodia. The pseudopodial locomotion is extremely slow, usually less than 300 millimeter per minute, that is about only 1.8 centimeters per hour. So it is one of the slow movement that is being brought about by amoeboid movement. It is characteristics of amoeba and other unicellular forms. It is also exhibited by wandering phagocytes such as amoebocytes of sponges and leukocytes of vertebrates. The amoeboid movement is best developed in the amoeba. Amoeba changes its shape by sending out and withdrawing pseudopodia from any point on the body surface. Many theories have been put forth to explain the formation of pseudopodium and the resultant amoeboid movement. Only two theories are considered here, as many theories are there with reference to explain this amoeboid movement. They are, the first one, contraction or walking movement theory. This theory was put forward by Dellinger in 1906 based on the study of locomotion in amoeba proteus. He proposed that amoeba proteus virtually walk on pseudopodia just as higher animals walk on their legs, hence the name walking movement theory. According to him, certain contractile substances present in the endoplasm are responsible for locomotion. The tip of newly formed pseudopodium anchors to the substratum and then contract, pulling the whole body mass close to the pseudopodium. The pseudopodia are formed one after the another in the direction of movement. This theory fails to explain how pseudopodia are formed. Second one, sol-gel theory or change of viscosity theory. This theory was first advocated by Hyman in 1917 and was later adopted by Pantin between 1923 to 26 and Mast in 1925. This theory is the most accepted of all the theories at present time on amoeboid movement. This theory considers the amoeboid movement to changes of viscosity in the cytoplasm from plasma gel to plasmazole and plasmazole to plasma gel. Mast coined the term plasmazole and plasma gel. According to this theory, the following activities contribute to the amoeboid movement. Plasma lemma, a thin delicate membrane covering the surface of amoeba, anchors to the substratum. The ectoplasm and outermost part of the endoplasm is in gel state and makes up the plasma gel. The more fluid inner endoplasm is the plasmazole. Outer plasma gel contracts and exerts a constant slight pressure on the inner plasmazole. Plasmazole under pressure flows forward and breaks the insufficient restraining plasma gel as at the anterior end, forming a pseudopodium. Plasmazole at the tip spread like a fountain, turning backward and gelatinize. This makes the pseudopodium a gelatinized tube with a fluid interior and tip. The process of gelation is accompanied by loss of water, which involves the contraction that squeezes the pseudopodium forward. At the posterior end of the organism, a local liquefaction of the plasmogel maintains a constant flow of plasmazole towards newly formed pseudopodium. This takes entire body cytoplasm into it so that the amoeba moves forward. According to Pantin, the local liquefaction results from release of acid. So this is a diagrammatic representation of the sol-gel theory of amoeboid type of locomotion. And as we observe here, there are two ends that can be seen in this body of amoeba. One is trailing end, another is advancing end. So as the name itself suggests, trailing end, it is the hind end, and advancing end is the anteriormost end. And this hind end is otherwise referred to as uroid, and as you observe in the picture, there are organelles like vacuole, nucleus, and other such organelles are present too. And here, as I mentioned earlier, the outer ectoplasm, it is said to be the plasmogel, and the inner endoplasm, it is said to be plasmazole. So there is the interconversion of plasmogel to plasmazole or plasmazole to plasmagel. And as you observe here, in the projection which is shown in green color with arrow marks inside, that is the zone of solation, that is conversion of gel into sol. And this sol which is being produced here, that will be entering inside the endoplasm. And the plasmazole, which is nothing but the protoplasm gel part, and that will be there in the central region next to nucleus. So this sol-gel theory, it is also called change of viscosity theory. Some important highlights of the sol-gel theory. It was advocated by Hyman. It was confirmed by Pantin and Mast. And amoeba attaches to the substratum. Ectoplasm is formed as hyaline cap at advancing end. A point of weakness is formed behind hyaline cap in advancing end. Plasmazole flows into advancing end. Plasmazole is converted into plasmagel at advancing end by losing water. This zone is called zone of gelation. Plasmagel flows back to the uroid end, and plasmagel is converted into plasmazole by gaining water or uroid end. This zone is called zone of solation. The rate of gelation and solation is same. As plasmazole flows towards advancing end, the pseudopodium extends further. Amoeba moves on the direction of pseudopodium. Now, flagellar movement, the second type of movement. Flagellar movement is performed by flagella. It is characteristics of class Mastigophora or Flagellata. Example, Euglena. Flagellate movement is fairly rapid, up to about 200 mm per second, slightly more rate than cilia. This is about 40 times the speed of the fastest amoeba. Now, the mechanism of flagellar movement is poorly understood. Of many theories propounded to explain the mechanism of flagellar movement, only few main ones are considered here. The first one being screw propeller theory of Buscelli. According to Buscelli, screw propeller theory, a spiral turning of flagellum like a screw exerting a propeller action, pulling the animal forward. The force is generated at the base of the flagellum and takes the animal forward, rotating on its central axis. So, as the locomotive organelle moves like a screw, hence the theory is called screw propeller theory. Now, circular bead theory of Meissner. According to Meissner's circular bead theory, a simple flagellar bead in a circle tracing a cone generates sufficient force to pull the animal forward. The third type of theory, paddle stroke or sidewise lashing movement theory. Ullela and Krisman in 1925 made a direct observation on swimming flagellates in dark field illumination. According to them, the ordinary movement of flagellum is a sidewise lash consisting of an effective downstroke and a relaxed recovery stroke. Generally, the flagellum beats obliquely. During effective downstroke, the flagellum is held out rigidly, and while in a relaxed recovery stroke, the flagellum strongly curved and it is brought forward again. As a result, the animal moves forward and also rotates on its longitudinal axis. Now the fourth one, undulating movement. The flagellum works like a propulsive organ. Verworn observed snake-like undulating flagellar movement in Peronema trichophorum. A flagellum beats symmetrically with undulations like a snake, proceeding from one end to other as succeeding waveforms or spiral forms. The wave-like undulations push the animal forward, and when progressing from tip to base, causing backward movement, and when progressing from base to tip, when undulations are spiral and they cause rotation in opposite direction. Now, ciliary movement. As the name itself suggests, ciliary movement is performed by cilia. It is characteristics of class Ciliata. Example, paramecium. Cilia are the fastest moving of all protozoans. The speed of locomotion ranges from 400 to 2000 millimeter per second. That is about 0.4 to 2 millimeter per second. This is about 400 times the speed of the fastest amoebae and 40 times the speed attained by many flagellates. The ciliary movement is very much similar to flagellar movement, except the cilium beats asymmetrically and bends throughout its length. Ciliary movement consists of two strokes, a fast effective stroke or power stroke and slow recovery stroke. These strokes alternate with each other. In the power stroke, the cilium is outstretched and moves from forward to backward position. The water moves in the direction of stroke, while the animal moves in the opposite direction. The recovery stroke is a counter-clockwise movement in which the cilium is bent over to the right against the body and brought back to the forward position. That is, when it is viewed from above, looking anteriorly. The recovery stroke offers less water resistance, so it is not feasible with the actual movement of cilia. The cilia of the body do not pulsate simultaneously. The forward cilia beat first and the cilia behind beat later. The waves of ciliary movement are similar so that it is seen in a paddy field on a wind day. The cilia of a longitudinal row beat metachronously, that is, one after another, while the cilia of transverse row beat synchronously, that is, all together. In paramecium, the direction of effective ciliary stroke is oblique to the long axis of the body, and this causes the paramecium to swim in a spiral course and at the same time rotate on its longitudinal axis. The paramecium can also move backward by reversing the ciliary beat. This backward movement is associated with shock or avoiding reaction. According to the currently favored hypothesis of ciliary movement, the microtubules behave as sliding filaments while that move past one another like the sliding filaments of vertebrate skeletal muscles. During ciliary bending, microtubules on the concave side slide outward past microtubules on the convex side to increase bending of the cilium. During the recovery stroke, microtubules on the opposite side slides outwards to bring the cilium back to the starting position. Now, the fourth one, metabolic movement. As the name itself suggests, it is the metabolic activities that are taken place inside the cytoplasm or the cell. Some kind of movement is seen in some protozoans, hence called metabolic movement. It is brought about by contractile filaments or myonymphs present in the peripheral ectoplasm of various protozoans. Metabolic movement is also called creeping, wriggling, gliding, or peristaltic movement. The rhythmic contraction and expansion of the myonymphs bring about a change in shape of the body and relative displacement from the original place. Metabolic movement is performed by certain flagellates like Euglena and sporozoans such as Gregarina. In Euglena, the metabolic movement is known as the euglenoid movement. It occurs occasionally and is not a true method of locomotion. The outer body covering or pellicle is more sufficiently flexible. The myonymphs present in the pellicle bring about contraction and expansion of the body. A peristaltic wave of contraction and relaxation passes over the entire body from anterior to posterior end, and the animal creeps forward. The body becomes shorter and wider first at the anterior end, then in the middle, and later at the posterior end. And this is a very slow movement. In Gregarines, the metabolic movement is known as the Gregarine movement, and a Gregarine Gregarines, for example, Monocystis, are sporozoans which are essentially parasites of invertebrates. Monocystis shows wriggling movement in the body fluid of the host and is performed by the help of myonym fibrils. Dear students, with this I have completed today's class. Let us meet in the next class. Take care. Have a great day.